So how do you approach a pre and post ebook launch email marketing? Okay, so email marketing, right? That's like pretty simple. You just do a pre-launch drip and then like a post-launch follow-up. You could also, if you want to kind of expand into other channels, you could also do you can do ads, you can do organic on Instagram or Facebook or other socials. You can do it on Reddit. You can create a community. You can join a community, advertise there that way, kind of more like surreptitiously. Yeah, I mean email marketing, right? So just pre and then post. So I guess like to be more specific off the top of my head, if assuming I already have an email list that is engaged and they like me, I would start with like a teaser. Then I would go with like, hey, uh, like spend a couple emails addressing pain points, and then spend a couple emails kind of like offering a solution, and then offering like my solution, and then like a hype run up. So like, oh, in just X amount of days it's launching, you can do blah blah blah, and then just do that and then launch. Like I don't really think you need to think too deep into it. How to make 7 figures in 1 year? Just do it. I don't. Ooh, okay, well let's do it like this, right? Hold on. So, realistically, the biggest thing that you should do is you should temper your expectations. The reason for this is because when you look too far ahead, you're not going to be able to make the progress that you want to make. That's cute, I guess. And then also consider like where you live, right? So you can kind of just work backwards a little bit. Like, how much do you need to make? So like, how much do you need to make to survive? What do you need to make in 1 month to survive? Right. So from here, let's say like you need to make 3,000 a month to survive. Once you are at this kind of 3,000 mark, scaling this becomes a lot easier. So scaling this becomes a lot easier, right? So 10% of 3,000 is 300. So 10% is $300. If you scale 10% a month, you'll have 3,300. And then, so let's say you make 3,000 in January, and then we want to increase by 10%, right? So this is equal to the previous cell times 0.1, then plus the previous cell, so 3,300, and then we just do that. That means if you increase 10% every month, you started with 3,000 in January, by the end of December, you'll be making 85-60 a month. The 10% is so strong and is so powerful, and it's achievable. This together, so let's do a quick sum here. This means you made this much in 1 year. If we take the same principle and we do the 10%, so this equals the, is this right? Yeah. So hold on. Let's, okay, whatever. So if we do this, then in 6 years, then by the 6th year, you would have made your first 6-figure month, or your first 6-figure year. And then by the end of 12 years, almost at 200,000, right? And that's only with 10%. The thing is, once you start accumulating capital, it becomes significantly easier to turn your kind of like your fortune around, because the more money you have, the more cash flow you have to invest and reinvest into different things, the more of a return you will have on that investment. Like a 10% ROI is so little, is honestly so little. So realistically, I would say that by the time you hit your first 5K month, you'll have a better idea of what you're doing and how to scale better, right? From here on out, you're not growing at 10%. Let's say you're growing at 30%. And then we adjust that. By the end of December, you're making 20K a month. If you're from July and then you start like increasing 30% month over month instead, you're making 20K a month. It's a lot. So are we going for 7 in 1 year? No. And honestly, you shouldn't be. That's a stupid idea because you don't even know what you're doing. How are you going to scale up that much without the experience or the knowledge to do so? Sure, you can get lucky. A lot of people, not a lot, but like there are enough people who get lucky that make you think, oh my God, like why didn't I get lucky? It's a silly thing to bank on, right? And then you do this for safe. You do this, and then in your first year, you've already made almost 6 figures. In your second year, you've definitely made 6 figures. The other thing too is if you have, I think the figure was 5,000. If we changed this to 5,000 instead, and then we reverted this back to 10%, your first year you've made 6 figures. So first, figure out how much you need to survive. Then figure out how you're gonna scale this. Then figure out how to scale month over month, 10%. That's it. Because the thing is, your first big milestone, I would say, like universally, is going to be that first 5K month. Because at that first 5K month, then you know that in 12 months, with a 10% or compounding growth every month, you will have, in 12 months you will have 6 figures. It's a very powerful mental mechanism for yourself. So I know I didn't answer how you could do 7, but I did answer how you're going to go from surviving to thriving. So I wrote a cold email. I don't want to do critiques during Q&A, but this isn't exactly a critique. So main critiques were word wastage and grammatical nuances that show I am not a native speaker. First off, I really like the branding you have done with your website. I found blank while I was looking for some good agencies to work with. I'm an email copywriter who's always on the lookout for opportunities. How could I miss this one? I also built and managed funnels for high-ticket offers for multiple 6 to 7. Some more well-versed in those. I think. So grammatical nuances that show I'm not a native speaker. I don't necessarily agree, but yeah, you could definitely work on your grammar. Reading this, I wouldn't go, oh, this guy isn't a native speaker. Reading this, I'd go, oh, this guy just this guy didn't do well in school or something. That's what I would think. And it does lose your credibility and authority. Word wastage, there's like some fluff that doesn't really contribute to your whole thing. So it doesn't really contribute to you getting this to a good outreach message, I guess. So like this first part, it's not really that like the personalization is so superficial. I would ignore it, and I would maybe even be annoyed by it. I found blank while I was looking for some good agency. Yeah, so it's just kind of, I would restructure how you write that. Is this any better? And again, I don't want to do critiques during Q&As, just letting you know. Hey, for good agency, I was impressed by your branding. Stood out to me. Yeah, that is already a stronger first sentence. I still wouldn't write it this way personally, but email market, I built. I would say this is better overall. I wouldn't write a cold outreach email in this way though, just personally. Not a copywriter. How important is doing well in college? I mean, it just depends on your goals, right? So, like, this isn't a question I should be answering. This is a question you need to be answering for yourself. Let me just give some perspective. It really just depends on you. Like, what are your goals? Like, why are you here? Why are you going to school? And like, who are the stakeholders? Who's going to be happy about having like better grades, and who's going to not care about it? And you just got to figure out a strategy to cater to that, and then see how you can work around your goals. It's honestly for you probably like one of your first major kind of adult challenges to navigate and to balance. If you're paying for it, just do well. Like, honestly, if it's not gonna take that much time and not that much effort, just do well. I suck at research and don't like doing it. When I try to do it, I just can't find anything that is useful in copy. That sounds like you're just bad at research, or you don't have very good fundamental understanding of like what good copy looks like. If you had 12 hours to work on copywriting, what would you do? I don't know what this question, like, to practice, if I like had to fit a bunch of practice, 12 hours, I don't know, read part of a book and then annotate, do a lot of annotation critique, do a lot of annotation of existing copy that I know is good. How do you balance between writing for humans versus writing for Google Spiders for SEO? You balance by not trying to do both in one. You do one or the other. Very different. For copy, you don't really even need to focus on SEO. Not. I don't want to say in general like a blanket statement. For a lot of what direct response copywriting is used for, typically isn't conducive with SEO, because you don't necessarily want the web crawlers to be tracking those pages that you put out, like landing pages and whatever. So it's just different. I would balance it by focusing on one, and like the page itself should be purpose built to either service the copywriting or the SEO, not both. A lot of the times, not all the times, just depends. It's very case specific. As you are aware of how many new copywriters from first and third world country join the market every day, they pitch the businesses their service, they mess up later, which makes it hard for other writers to land clients. If you had to reach out to that business, how would you go on? Ooh, that's a good question. What do you offer that differentiates you from the competition that has already come in and messed up? A lot of the times, the best way you can differentiate yourself from the competition is by having results, like provable, attributable results, which can be really hard as a beginner, right? I think that one of the better ways for beginner to try and get experience is to write really good spec pieces and pitch to agencies. And I know not everyone likes working for agencies, but agencies are always looking to hire because their churn rate is very, very high. At least the good agencies, the churn rate is lower. Average agencies, the churn rate tends to be pretty high. So what that means for you is you need to practice, write really good spec pieces based on like different funnel pieces, or kind of like the clientele, or like if you look up an agency and you see what kind of work they do, like tailor it to what they would do and what they like, pitch them. If they like it, they'll put you on a test project, and if they like that, they'll put you on a low paying job, and if they like that, then they'll put you on higher level stuff. That'll give you good experience and round out your portfolio. If you were to start your copywriting journey again, what are your skills you will learn to pitch business which makes your chances of landing client easy? Cold calling. Well, first, I need... Copywriting is difficult because a lot of people who get into this market, their English is really bad, right? And then not only is their English really bad, their grasp of copywriting principles is also really shallow. You need to have a solid foundation. Once you have a solid foundation, if you live in the US, if you live in the UK, if you live in Australia or New Zealand, or even in some Asian countries, pitch local businesses. Cold call them. Copy That has a good book about this called No Man's Niche. Highly recommend. That's No Man's Niche. Other than that, knowing how to write good cold emails and cold outreach emails, knowing how to frame my experience and my expertise for cold emails is really important. If you like look at critiques, right? Let's see here. Here, look at this. I hope you can see this. If you look at critiques, almost all of these are emails, and almost all of them are bad. Which is why I don't look at critiques anymore, because I'm just so tired of it. Read good copy, study good copy, critique, annotate, get your work critiqued and annotated. That also answers this question. What should I do if I suck at doing research? Pursue something that's not copywriting. What's your experience in working with personal brands and companies? What kind of freelancers would they love to hire? Okay, good question. With the last company I was working with, Personal brands and companies. Okay, so the last company I was working with, which I was working for Zendrop, the sort of experience I was looking for to hire my replacement was someone who knew how to straddle the line between brand and direct response. The problem was that most people were strictly on brand copywriting, but we needed someone who understood direct response principles, and also who knew how to conversion rate optimize and also and like A/B test, right? Um, and then the generally speaking, with kind of like the freelance roles I've been in, what these clients were looking for was expertise, experience, and just easy to work with. I was working with a digital marketing agency that service law firms, and the guy gave me a shot, even though my qualifications were not good. He gave me a shot because he liked me. Like, he just liked talking to me. I was a good conversationalist, and he thought I vibed really well with him. So that, right? What kind of freelancers would they love to hire? Someone who knows what they're doing. I honestly, it's just the bar is kind of low, and the bar is low because most people are crap. I've been doing content writing for Instagram for over a year. Recently, I got an opportunity to work more on copywriting. Okay. Haven't seen any massive results like virality or huge sales. I mean, like doubling sales or increasing by 50 to 100%. Oh, I still want to continue working with me. I feel hard to say. This question is definitely a little hard to answer. I would say that it kind of, if you are able to have a little bit more agency and control and oversight over your responsibilities and your role, I think that would be a really great place to start to see what levers you can pull to increase these like to improve these results. But if what you're doing is giving your clients a positive ROI, then that's fine. Like, I don't you don't have to go for really big numbers. Improvement is improvement. If you were watching this from the beginning, where I talk about that 10% compounding growth, 10% compounding growth is a lot. Don't underestimate it. All my clients want to continue working with me, though it's low pay. If the pay is too low, what you can do is focus on improving the results. And then once you have those results under your belt, use that to leverage other gigs and other roles at higher paying positions, right? You want to help grow your client's business. Without more information on what exactly is going on here, the advice I can give is quite limited. But as far as whether or not it's normal or progressing to, I would say it's normal. I think we've just sensationalized and normalized like these massive viral huge jumps in growth, but they happen, but not all the time. It's the app. Surely that's not the norm, right? I would say you're probably doing fine.